Hello there, welcome back. This is Sheepishly here once again, and today I have a very special video for you guys. I have just spent the last 10 hours farming Inscribe Ultimatums and Trial Masters. I do these decently fast, it's about 15 minutes per run, including fighting the boss, so I did exactly 40 runs. Now, the Inscribe Ultimatums are fairly cheap, they're about 2 exiles each, but the Trial Master, which requires 3 fragments, the Deadly Fate, Cowardly Fate, and Victorious Fate for each attempt, this is a little bit more expensive, roughly 180 exalts or 0.6 divines give or take. But the real question is, did we make money over the last 10 hours? Well, without further ado, let's find out. No shot. Well, there you go. As you can see from the highlights, we've got incredibly lucky on our 40 runs. We dropped 3 full un-ID'd Adorned jewels. Now these are worth between 65 to 70 divines un-ID'd. So we've just made almost 200 divines just from these 3 drops alone. Now, I would say this is definitely very lucky. I think based on the drop chances of the Adorned, getting 3 in 40 runs is something like a 97th percentile outcome, which means I am in the top 3% of the luckiest people farming Ultimatum and Trial Master. Probably don't expect to drop 3 in your 40 runs is all I'm going to say here. To go through the results in a more systematic fashion though, we have dropped 120 soul cores, which is right here from the 40 runs of Ultimatum. You do drop 3 soul cores guaranteed each run. Unfortunately, we didn't get a single Azcapa, which is the rarity soul core. That is worth something like 3 divines almost by itself, 2.5 to 3 divines. So it did get a little bit unlucky there, but I can't complain because I got 3 Adorned. So hey, you win some, you lose some. We have dropped a total of 2 divine orbs, which is about expected because we call so many rare monsters as well as unique monsters, so you get a lot of actually exalted orbs, chance orbs, chaos orbs, so dropping a divine hero there is actually the expected outcome. 3 Adorned, of course, which makes up the bulk of our profit. I will also present the profit without Adorned so you can see how much we would make if we're not getting lucky on these runs. I haven't counted the Stellar Amulet and the Sapphire Rings, but I think these 3 probably is worth 1 divine by themselves. People do like to chance these quite a bit. We have also dropped 7 shields. Now this is the Mahuzato's Machinations. When un-ID'd, this goes for about 450 exalts or 1.5 divines. So I do have some nice profit coming from the shield drops themselves. Something else I didn't know about this farm, the Trial Master actually sometimes drops these corrupted ultimatums. Now, he doesn't drop these on every run, so you can't self-sustain these, but these are very, very good in terms of bumping up your profit per hour because it's essentially guaranteed loot, right? So here we have one that sacrifices up to 20 Regal Orbs and receive double the amount, which means you get 20 free Regal Orbs essentially upon the completion of the ultimatum, which might not seem like much, but there's also different versions of the corrupted ultimatums. There's one that gives you 20 Exalted Orbs, there's one that gives you 10 Chaos Orbs, there's even one that gives you 3 Divine Orbs, which is very profitable if you get that one, because it is essentially a free 3 Divine Orbs when you finish the ultimatum. And trust me, at my gear level, you are almost never failing the ultimatum. It doesn't really matter what mods you have on it. Unfortunately, nobody is selling these in bulk because only the Trial Master dropped them and he drops them fairly infrequently, which is a shame. Moving on to the essentially worthless drops from Trial Master. To start, we have 2 Hate Forgers, which is not worth anything. Trust me, I checked. I was very excited when the first one dropped, before I realized that it's not actually worth anything in POE 2. Next, we dropped 9 belts. These are called Xerxes Genesis. Again, these are not worth anything. And finally, by far the most common drop out of the Trial Master is the helmet Glimpse of Chaos. So we dropped 20 of these. I actually think these helmets are super interesting because the tag, you can modify these while corrupted. So you can do a cool gamble with these where you just keep on corrupting the helmet, and what you're hoping for is something like 3 or 4 implicits, and once you get 3 or 4 implicits, you want to corrupt it into a different unique helmet. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below if this is not the case, but I think it can be corrupted into any unique helmet in the game, which means that if you get lucky, you can essentially have a cool unique helmet with 3 or 4 corrupted enchants. And that's kind of like the dream outcome there, but it is pretty much a gamble because when you corrupt it, it can break into a random rare item, which means that it becomes worthless. Now, I think there's a small market for these helmets. If you have a lot of these, you can probably sell them in bulk for slightly higher price, maybe like 10, 20 exalts, I'm not too sure. But yeah, good luck trying to find buyers for these. I think the market is so small, it is pretty much not worth selling at all. Well, there you go. That's an overview of all the loot we have. Now you might be wondering, how many divines did you actually make? Well, this is where the trusty spreadsheet comes in. Coming over to the spreadsheet, which I will link in the comment below. Before I go through the actual divines we've made, I want to take you through my personal tier list for both the modifiers as well as the type of rooms you're gonna encounter in Ultimatum. Now, I won't go through these one by one, but I'll quickly explain what each tier means. So in the S tier, we have lethal rare monsters. This is a very safe modifier. It also increases the reward you get when you run through the Ultimatum. I would 100% pick this every single time without a second thought. Next up, we have the A tier. I would click the A tier ones without thinking as well. Most of the time, you can pretty much ignore them, essentially. So definitely a good choice as well. Now, depending on what your build is strong against or weak against, some of these in the B tier and C tier may swap around, but in all honesty, if you have a decent build, you should probably still be fine if you pick them. It's just not as ideal as the ones that's shown in the S tier and A tier. Now, D tier, however, these are what I consider to be unplayable. Do not recommend. In fact, if I have no option but to take any of these ones in the D tier, I would pretty much just quit and start a new run because yeah, you're just not gonna have a good time essentially. Moving on to the room tier list. This is a little bit of a meme because you can't actually choose which room you get. But in the S tier, which is the fun tier, we have defeat all monsters. This is the only room that is fun. Trust me, all the other room sucks. Okay? There's nothing in the A tier, nothing in the B tier. And in the C tier, we have survive until the timer ends. Now, this is a nice concept, but it's just horribly implemented because the timer is 90 seconds, and it doesn't matter how quickly you kill each wave, you have to wait until a certain time for the next wave to spawn. So if I instantly kill the wave, I still have to wait 20 seconds for the next wave to spawn, which is just not fun at all. But this is still okay if you compare it to the D tier, because I just want to quit the game every time I get one of these. Escort the Statue. That statue is the slowest moving statue you've ever seen in your life, and if you walk even a millimeter away from the statue, it's gonna just drop to the ground and not move. I don't understand why. There should be some scaling for the statue based on your movement speed or something. I don't know. It's horrible. Finally, we have the Retrieve the Soul course. Now, some people might find this okay, but I personally think it's just terrible, terrible game design. And the reason is, each of the Soul Course room is designed to be like a mini puzzle, right? You have to fix some switches, you have to go to different parts. That's fine the first time you do it. That's fine the second time you do it. But when you have to run this content repeatedly, which I have for 10 hours, it gets old very fast. And if you don't have a fast character, which I do, and I still hate it, if you don't have a fast character, you are literally spending 3 minutes running around the map, killing no monsters, just to reach the next soul core. It is horrendous. Okay, let's get through to the math side of things. So firstly, on the left hand side of this spreadsheet, I have what I got from the Trial of Chaos, which is the Deadly Fates. You get one of these each run at random, which altogether I have 40 of them, coming out to around 7.7 divines at the current marketplace. We've also dropped 120 soul cores, Like I mentioned, we didn't get any of Azcapas, which would be 700 exalts, which is quite good, but even without getting lucky on that, we've made almost 9 divines in terms of so-called profits. If we just count the drops from Ultimatum alone, we've made 16 divines across 40 runs, which is not too bad if you sell the fragments and don't do the boss yourself. This is pretty much guaranteed profit, and even though it's not too many divines per hour, it is nothing to scoff at. Now let's add the Trial Master drops. So on the bosses, we drop 3 Adorned, which counts as 65 divines each unID'd. I think they are going for 70 divines right now, but depends on time of day, you might get a little bit of difference in prices. 7 shields, like I mentioned, which is 1.5 divines each, or 450 exalts. And for the helmet, the belt, and the gloves, I haven't counted them to be worth anything, because, let's be honest, they're not really worth anything at all. In terms of notable monster drops, I have counted the 2 Divine Orbs, which I think is fair, in a space of 10 hours. So how much money did we actually make? Well, let's figure out the cost side first. We spent about 25.5 divines. Most of the cost is coming from the Trial Master fragment. Our total profit, which is our revenue minus cost, come out to be just under 200 divines. This translates to roughly 5 divines per run, or roughly 20 divines per hour. Like I said, I know I got incredibly lucky with my Adorned drops on this test. Definitely don't expect to get 20 divines per hour if you try to replicate this strategy. So how much do you stand to make if you don't drop any Adorned? Well, there you go. If we have no Adorned, we actually lose 7 divines across the whole 40 runs. That's right, if you don't drop a single Adorned, you actually lose money after 10 hours of farm, which is not something you want to see here. The good thing is that because the Adorned is so expensive, dropping even a single Drew would mean that you are very much in the green, and you have just made yourself a nice little profit of roughly 58 divines. So what's the drop chance for the Adorned Drew? Well, it's about 2%, which means that you have a 55% chance to see at least 1 Adorned drop when you farm 40 Trial Masters, and you have close to 90% chance to find at least 1 Adorned if you run this content 100 times. Would I recommend anyone to run this 100 times? Probably not. It's a little bit boring, and I was definitely going crazy by the end of my farm. But hey, if you have a nice TV show or a Netflix series you've been meaning to watch, pop that on the second monitor, and I promise you the hours will fly by quite quickly, and your divines will fly in just as quick as well. Well, there you go. That's the result of farming 10 hours of Ultimatum as well as the Trial Master. Please give me a like and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Thanks for watching. I wish you good luck on your Trial Master farming sessions. See you next time. Bye bye.